Hey YouTube, DIYJunkie369 here with the week 6 weight loss video blog. Hopefully you guys are finding these interesting and watching more of them. Also check out my other videos if you're interested in learning how to cook barbecue, real barbecue, not just grilling something, or learning how to shoot, which I haven't put up too many of those yet, but I'm going to try to start working on them in between all this weight loss crap that I'm doing. Excuse me, I shouldn't call it crap. It's healthy lifestyle. So this week I'm down to 283.6. I told you that a little sticking at 286 for the past 2 weeks was just kind of something that happens, and if you keep doing what you're doing, it's going to come off. The weight has to come off. It's a mathematical certainty. That means my BMI is down to 34.5. I've lost roughly 20 pounds since I've started. I started at 304 6 weeks ago, if you guys haven't watched the rest of the videos yet. As far as my calories, I've been really good up to this point, but I did not meet my calorie goals for Friday or Sunday, and I was over both those days. Not by much. I think one day I was over by like 126 calories. I did have to do some adjustment to my BMR calculation, which is the basal metabolic rate that you can calculate on the computer. You put in like your age, your height, your weight, whether you're male or female. I think there's some other stuff that you can put in that all goes into a formula and calculates, if you were to do absolutely nothing, this is how many calories your body needs just to survive. And then from there, you would figure out like what's your activity level, how much do you walk per day, do you go running, stuff like that. Do you drive, do you sit at the office, like anything that you do other than just laying on the floor and breathing. That adds calories to your BMR that you have to intake food for. And my calculations that were done for me, they're just kind of a guideline, because each person's a little bit different, and the equations out there they can't compensate for everybody, but they can get you close. And because I've been doing a good job of tracking, I was able to see like if my net calories, so BMR plus activity calories minus calories eaten, when that was close to zero, those were the days that I really wasn't losing any weight. And I'd been kind of looking at this over a 2-week period, not just a couple days in a row. I'd been kind of looking at this, and really the calculation I had done had been set up. I had told it I wanted to lose 2 pounds a week. Well, when I was hitting that net calorie of 0, where I should still be low enough to lose 2 pounds a week, I was kind of flatlining and not losing anything, or even just gaining a little bit here and there. So I had to adjust my BMR a little bit lower, and I didn't go back and do like another calculation for this. I just took the BMR that had been given and told it to go like 10% lower. And that's part of the reason I think maybe I stalled out, and now I'm back to losing a little bit again. And I'm losing a little bit more than 2 pounds a week, but I'm really close to that average. The only way you're going to be able to see that is if you track absolutely everything and make sure that you're doing it right. Then, okay, so back on track to my goals. Water, 100 ounces a day. This week I met that every day except for Thursday and Friday, and it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday were really cold weather days, and on days like that, it is really hard for me to drink that much water. I'm not really sweating it out, and it all of a sudden becomes like a huge roadblock to get like that last 20 ounces of water that I need to break that 100-ounce goal. Steps, still doing great there. 10,000 a day, no problem. Well, there's a couple days where it's a problem. I feel really tired, but like I said before, I have a kind of a reward program through Garmin where like you get medals and achievements and points for making sure you get those steps every day, and there's also like weekly competitions. So I made sure to push through that tiredness and get those steps in, because that makes a huge difference. And then as far as 8.5 hours of sleep, I got it every day except for Sunday. No, scratch that. It was Saturday. Got it every day except for Saturday. Usually Saturday I stay up real late because I'm watching the kids. I'm kind of potty training my daughter, so going through that keeps me up real late at night. And so that night I only got 7.5 hours, a whole hour short of the 8.5 goal. But every other night I was going like 8.5, sometimes 9.5 hours. Partially due to a slight time change on when I go to work. So normally I'd been going in at 7. This week it had been like 8 or 9 every day. Some people don't have that flexibility. All that means is when you come home, you throw the kids in bed at like 7 or 8 because they have school the next morning. You probably should get in bed as well at that time if you're trying for 8.5 hours a night. And then for the 2019 mile challenge, we're 34 days in, so finally made it through 1 month. Supposed to have 188 miles even at this point, and I have 194.3. So like I said last week, not slowing down on that. Even though I'm ahead of schedule, I'm going to keep pushing and just see how many miles I can rack up by the end of the year. Definitely looking at 2019 miles. Hopefully it'll be a lot more than that, and it'll be interesting to see how many miles I can cover in that year. So, like I said, I'm doing really close to 2 pounds a week. I've lost roughly 20 pounds in 6 weeks, which is about 3.3 pounds. So about a pound and a third over the maximum recommended weight loss of 2 pounds. Like any higher than 2 pounds, almost everybody out there will say, that's too fast, do not lose weight that fast. And it's not really a myth thing, it's just kind of a generally accepted guideline. And the thing with guidelines is they might apply to a good number of people, but they're not necessarily true for everybody, especially. Like there's some people that 2 pounds a week might be way too much. And then in my case, 2 pounds a week, well, I mean, I wouldn't hurt by doing it that slow. I was at a really high BMI, and I had lots of reasons to get down to under 35 as soon as I could. And doing it that fast, not necessarily a bad thing, despite what everybody says. And a good portion of this idea of 2 pounds a week is maximum comes from, like, if you are doing really rapid weight change, you might be doing it in a way that is not a permanent change. And I mean, people see it all the time, which even just reinforces this point even more. People lose a ton of weight by making some sort of drastic lifestyle change, and then they go back to normal, which is the first mistake, and they gain it all back, and then sometimes even more. And it seems to happen rapidly. Like they might spend a month to 2 months losing all this weight, and then they'll gain it in a week, which just is mind-boggling. That's boggling, not mind-boggling. For you guys that don't get that joke, go watch Talladega Nights. It's stupid dumb, but it is funny. And it's true, like a lot of people doing rapid weight loss, and I'm now thinking like 5 pounds a week, maybe 10 pounds a week. They're doing something crazy fad diet like the grapefruit diet. I don't like grapefruit, but that one just, man, I don't know how people do that. Gross. Or the water diet, which would be more like fasting. But the only deal with fasting is you got to break the fast at some point, and you kind of should do it slowly. And if you're like eating 4,000 calories a day and then you fast for a week and lose a whole bunch of weight, well, if you don't want to gain it back, you better not start eating 4,000 calories a day when you break the fast. But the problem is they never took the time to train themselves how not to eat the 4,000 calories a day. They just went for the quick solution. Stuff like that is where I think like people want to call paleo and keto and intermediate fasting fad. Like those are sustainable, long-term lifestyle changes that a person can make, where like I'm not going to spend the rest of my life eating nothing but grapefruit. And so stuff like that to me is the true fad. and should be avoided for rapid weight loss. And if you're avoiding those and you're still taking off weight quickly, then I really don't see the problem with it. But you shouldn't do something and then go back to your previous lifestyle, especially when your lifestyle was overeating and not exercising. So, I mean, even me, like, although I'm about a year out, minus 6 months or 6 weeks from losing or getting to the goal that I want to, I've already have a plan. Like, I'm not going back to eating the way I was eating. That means I'm probably not going to. It doesn't mean I won't eat pizza ever again, but it's not going to be like a 3 nights a week type deal like it was before. Luckily for me, I only moderately like pizza, so I only miss it once in a while, maybe like once or twice a month. I really start craving it. But so when I go back to off the diet, I'll probably eat a pizza, but it's going to be like one meal, one night out of a month maybe, and I'm not going to eat a whole large by myself, even though I can. I'm probably going to eat like 3 slices, and even better would be only 2 slices with a salad or something. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, the cravings here for like pizza, ice cream, and all that stuff, they are real. It's almost like people are addicted to it, and I know, because like I'm one of those people. I almost can't seem to live without ice cream. Like, you could put a bowl of ice cream in front of me and tell me, like, if you eat that, it will kill you, and I'm probably going to let go like, what? After the bowl's empty. And it's just strange to think that food can be like that powerful to where it's almost a chemical dependent addiction, similar to meth or heroin or something. I don't know. I'm not like my forte is not drug addiction here. Food addiction, maybe. I'm real familiar with that. And it might sound funny to people that don't crave food that way, but I mean, if you look at people like myself, or there's other videos on YouTube about this, people that like cut out sugar or caffeine, and they have serious withdrawals. I mean, drug addiction level withdrawals. I know, like, they're not lying. I've gone through this several times myself. And these happen like every time they stop consuming them, and the pain is so horrible that even though consuming them is that bad for them, they'll go back to consuming just to get rid of the pain. And like I said, I know about this because I've like stopped drinking caffeine 4 or 5 times before it became a permanent thing. And I even tell people, like, man, I don't want to drink this soda because I know it's going to give me horrible headaches, but like I have to drink this soda or I'm going to get horrible headaches. It's really weird catch-22 thing going on. Like, every time I quit drinking soda and got rid of the caffeine, it was horrible. I was sweating, mood swings, migraine headaches. I mean, it was almost unbearable. Like, I wanted to stay home from work. The second I drank a soda, it'd go away. But the only problem is I'd start drinking more and more soda, and then it's like my body became dependent on it, and enough, it was almost like I was going through the withdrawal even though I was drinking like 4 or 5 sodas a day. So I was starting to get headaches and feel crappy even though I was still drinking the soda. So it forced me to stop, and then I'd go through serious withdrawals again, and it's just a very vicious cycle. And same thing with people that quit intaking a whole bunch of sugar, like people that cut out all the refined sugars in their diet, like going keto. You got what's called the keto flu. Some of that's withdrawals, some of that is imbalance in electrolytes, which I'll get into later. And if you don't want to take my word for it, just look it up. There's tons of videos on it. It's really interesting. And the videos for me helped because it was like, well, I'm not the only person going through this. And the other thing it made me start realize was like, sugar and caffeine are really powerful chemicals and they could almost be considered a drug, and you could definitely develop a chemical dependence on them that causes real-world withdrawals. Very serious stuff. I've been doing pretty good, but every once in a while it's really weird. Like, I'll be at home, and all of a sudden I'll just crave a candy bar, chocolate, or a donut, or something weird. And it's really strange because it's not in front of me. There wasn't a commercial on TV, so I didn't see it. There's not any in the house, and I'll have to drive half an hour round trip to go get one. But all of a sudden, it's such a strong urge that I will like get out of bed, get dressed, get in the car, and go get one. And it's just kind of a really hard thing for me to deal with, that not like having, to me it feels like a self-control, like, oh, I should have the discipline not to do that. But at the same time, it's like I have absolutely no control over it, and I hate that more than anything else. It's like the worst feeling to me to be like, just lose all discipline in that moment. Crazy part is that shouldn't really matter in your diet, but I know, like, it happened to me twice last week. I think I ate a donut one day and a candy bar the next day, and it's like all of a sudden, because I had that much sugar, not the calories, I was still good calorie wise. Those weren't the days that I was over on calories. Like, my calories were because I ate like too much chicken. But all of a sudden, I kind of got a little bump in weight, or stopped losing weight, and quite honestly, I would be like 282 or 280 today if I hadn't had like those 2 times a weakness. It might have been caused by depression of not losing really any weight the last 2 weeks. I mean, who knows? But I think it was purely psychological, but the physical effects it had were very real. And whereas I was meeting my calorie goals, except for the day that I ate like 3 pieces of chicken, but I did not really have any weight loss. Crazy thing is, the day I was over on calories, those were the days that I lost. So, I mean, what you're doing kind of has to become a permanent change. And let's say you can't ever eat this stuff again. Like I said, my plan is, once I'm done with the weight loss, I'm going to still track the calories, even though it's something I absolutely hate doing. I can't even begin to describe how much I hate this. But I figured I need to track calories and maintain that weight for an entire year to kind of re-emphasize the good habits of exercising every day and not overeating. And then from there, I can stop tracking calories. But I'll still step on the scale. And if I see a slight increase in weight, like a continuous increase in weight, maybe say like 5 pounds, I'm probably going to go back to tracking calories again, because obviously something's happened that I'm regaining the weight. And so whatever lifestyle change I had didn't take effect, and I need to go back to being on 100% to try to reinforce that correct behavior. And in that way, that's kind of something I talked about in the first video, where we need to train our kids in this way so they aren't stuck tracking calories. They just naturally do it. And part of it comes down to, like, don't force them to clear their plate. If they're not hungry, they're not hungry. At the same time, don't let them eat a whole bunch of junk food. Try to force them into eating meat. They should love chicken. They should love fish. My kids go crazy for it. When they were younger, they loved like carrots for some reason. Now they don't like them so much. I don't know what happened there. But I have like one kid that drinks only milk and water. Hates soda. And I'm good with that. Like, I am never going to force that kid to drink soda, no matter what. I have another kid that she likes soda, but she only likes Sprite. And on her, we force her to drink water once in a while, because she'll drink too much Sprite if we let her. Luckily, she doesn't like any of the other sodas yet, and we're not going to really introduce them to her. And the times that she has tried them, she's thought they were disgusting, so I'm fine with that. not going to force her into drinking it. Weird part is she hates milk. I'm okay with that too. Like I said, juice, milk, they're healthy, but they're kind of empty calories, and I'd rather not force her into drinking those. When she eats cereal, she'll eat it dry. We'll dump some milk on it for her, but the weird part is she'll eat the cereal and throw the milk down the sink. And I mean, I'm okay with that. For me, I can't eat cereal without drinking all the milk. And then it's like, as soon as I drink the milk, well, I need more cereal, so I'll go for a second and third bowl. And I don't want that for her. So like I said, when I hit my goal, I'm going to track for a year and then try to stop tracking. And if I start seeing an increase in weight, I'm going to go back to tracking. Same thing, I'll eat maybe a dessert once a week, or maybe like something that's not on my diet once a week, maybe even as little as once a month. And if I see any sort of an increase caused by this intake of dessert or pizza or alcohol or whatever, I'm going to cut those back out until my weight drops back down. That way I'm only getting a variation of like 5 pounds, but I stay fairly consistent, because it's a lot easier to kind of correct that problem immediately than to gain 5 pounds, maintain it at 5 pounds, and then try to drop that last 5 pounds. Because anybody that's gotten close to their goal knows, like, the closer and closer you get, the harder and harder it is to take like that last 5 to 10 pounds off. As far as exercise, you could cut back on exercise a little bit, but I'd really advise against that. Everything I've seen says you should be getting like 30 minutes of exercise a day. And then for somebody who sits at a desk all day like me, I'm saying like 30 is not even enough there. You should be getting probably closer to an hour to exercise a day. And that's really on top of like the 30,000, or not the 30,000, but the 10,000 steps a day. Now, as far as some problems with rapid weight loss that are like scientifically backed up, rapid weight loss is linked directly to dehydration, and indirectly linked, or kind of loosely linked incorrectly, to lean muscle loss. Muscle's really hard to burn, like I've described earlier, and so really rapid weight loss, unless you're doing something really wrong, shouldn't lead to any lean muscle loss. So that's not something I would really worry about if you're afraid of losing too much weight too quickly. But as far as water, that's really easy to combat. You drink more water. That's one reason I'm drinking 1,000 ounces of water a day. And most people will go like, oh, that's extreme, that's way too much water. Well, I'm trying to lose all that weight, and the water intake is one thing that I'm doing to make sure I'm remaining healthy while doing it. Now, rapid weight loss can be really dangerous if you're doing something stupid like a fad diet, like grapefruit diet, or some unsustainable starvation diet, which kind of what the grapefruit diet is, or the master cleanse, or whatever the hell that is that like Beyonce came up with, or weight loss pills that contain some sort of dangerous chemicals that might not even be listed on the label because they're not required to, or something stupid like that, or other magic devices and chemicals. Like, just stay away from anything that basically isn't natural, and don't try to fix it overnight. Like, figure out what 2 pounds a week is, and however long that is, that's your goal. I mean, you might be able to lose it faster, but I wouldn't plan on 5 pounds a week. Plan on 2. And if it comes off faster by doing natural stuff, good. If you try to force it, you're going to end up hurting yourself. As I kind of touched on, another thing that rapid weight loss can lead to is dehydration. And that's one that I'm most worried about, because dehydration causes so many other problems. So 100 ounces a day for me. For you, it might be a little bit less. I would try not to go too much more than a gallon a day, especially if you're a small person, because there is electrolyte imbalance that can happen, and you can either have not enough water, which causes high level of electrolytes because they're not diluted enough, or you can have too much water where electrolytes are not enough, they're diluted too much. And I've actually watched a TV show where somebody like drank themselves to death because they consumed so much water. If you're experiencing the electrolyte imbalance, though, you should really feel unhealthy. I mean, part of it is the keto flu. That's a electrolyte balance and too many electrolytes. Or you can go to the other side, and how you feel should be about the same, like you have the flu. So really, like, before you get to the point where you could dilute yourself enough to kill you, you should be feeling pretty horrible and know something's up and be inclined to stop. Another problem with people seen with rapid weight loss is gallstones, which is kind of a weird deal. Like rapid weight loss, like 12 to 25% of the people losing a lot of weight might develop gallstones, which are really painful. They'll be like down in the stomach on the right side. I think stabbing pain. Never experienced them as far as I know, but I mean, there's a good description online, and it is like you wish you were dying type pain level. And this is usually occurs, it's not like an immediate thing unless you already have them. If you already have them and you like up your fat intake, a lot more matter could be flushing through the gallbladder because of your increased fat intake. And if you already have gallstones, that's a point where you'll start feeling pain. But it's usually on the weight loss side, it's like sustained rapid weight loss over several months. But we're talking like maybe 5 pounds or more a week type weight loss. Some 2 pound a week weight loss might develop gallstones. But the interesting fact is, like, depending on how you do your diet, that kind of governs whether or not you're going to develop them. And part of that is because your body's metabolizing fat. Well, your gallbladder is responsible for like releasing bile, which is used to digest the fat. And the gallstones that you'll develop are usually due to like the increased cholesterol. The burning of fat causes your liver to release cholesterol into the bile, which then potentially clumps up and forms the gallstone in your gallbladder. Of course, having a BMI over 30 also increases your chances of getting gallstones. So you kind of have a catch-22 situation of, do I want to lose a lot of weight and get below that BMI of 30 and possibly develop gallstones? Or do I want to stay over 30, which is unhealthy, and develop gallstones because I'm overweight? I don't know. The interesting part, though, is part of the people saying, like, well, gallstones develop because of rapid weight loss. Also say, like, if you have a gallstone attack, you should switch to a low-fat diet, because fat is what causes the gallstones to develop in their mind, and start drinking a lot of water and take pain medication. Well, the interesting part about the low-carb diet is because you're not taking any fat, the body needs less bile to digest it. That means there's less bile being released from your gallbladder. Well, if there's less bile being released, the bile sits in the gallbladder, kind of being stored, with cholesterol being dumped in it. And the theory is, because it's sitting there for such a long time and not being flushed out by a high-fat diet, you're going to end up developing gallstones, because that cholesterol has a chance to sit in the bile, in the gallbladder, and form into the stones. It has more time rather than just being flushed out into your lower intestine and leaving the body. Really, it seems kind of counterintuitive to limit your fat intake when you get a gallstone, because you're just going to risk developing more gallstones by keeping that cholesterol and bile in your gallbladder for a longer period of time, giving it a chance to solidify into the stone. In fact, studies have proven that high-carb diets are at higher risk for gallstones than high-fat diets. So it seems like a low-carb, high-fat diet, despite what people are thinking, is the way to go to prevent the gallstones when doing rapid weight loss, which is interesting because everybody's pointing to keto as being the cause of gallstones, when in reality they're probably helping prevent them. And if people are getting the gallstones problems, they're probably showing up immediately because all of a sudden they're flushing more bile through the gallbladder, and they're feeling the immediate pain and discomfort of a gallstone attack because the stones are already there, but now because of the increased flow, the body's able to register that something's there blocking that increased flow. Another side to gallstones and weight loss, consuming more water helps. Dilution is the solution to problems like this. And then some people will say, like, with restrictive diet and high weight loss, you have to worry about malnutrition. Really, the only problem this becomes is if you do not get enough protein. And that's another favor, and that's another little notch in the belt for paleo and keto. Is if you're on one of these two diets, you're going to get enough protein. And if you're on like a vegetarian or low-fat diet or something else where you're trying to avoid meats and protein, it's really bad and it could get really dangerous really quick. But if you're watching my videos and kind of falling in line with what I'm talking about and what I believe, it's not going to be an issue, so I'm not worried about that. And then the last thing you got to worry about with a high rate of fat loss is electrolyte imbalance. I kind of touched on it. You can either have too little or too much. Electrolytes are stuff like sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, bicarbonate, chloride, and phosphates. And basically these are responsible for cells being able to send like electrical signals and all kinds of other stuff. They are quite literally deadly important for your body to have these. And that's one reason, back on the last week's video on fasting, I said if you fast over 24 hours, you should be taking some sort of supplement that has this kind of stuff in it. The leading cause of an imbalance is dehydration. High fat loss, you get dehydrated. Now there's too much of a concentration of electrolytes and not enough liquid to go around. So drink more water. For example, with the keto, you're cutting down on the carbs. Your body can't make enough glucose for fuel because that's what carbs get turned into. And glucose, of course, is sugar. And that is used to fuel your brain and muscles. So what it does is it turns to glucose reserves called glycogen. I'm a little bit fuzzy on what those are exactly, but it's something your body stores for when it doesn't have glucose. And this glycogen is stored in the liver and muscles. And it's 3 to 4 parts water. And so it's dumping or accessing all this glycogen and burning it up, where you're losing a ton of water when that happens. So when you lose glycogen, because you're not intaking glucose, you're also losing a lot of water. And this is what's responsible for what people call the keto flu, is this electrolyte imbalance caused by losing all this water during burning up the glycogen. The solution is to drink more water because you're losing so much water, you have to take more of it in to restore that electrolyte balance. And that's all there is to it. And so like 100 ounces of water a day seems extreme to most people. There's some people out there that drink no water a day. They get all their liquid needs from food, alcohol, other soups, if they drink soups. So 100 ounces seems obscene. Or milk, like there's water in milk, obviously. But for somebody that's going through rapid weight loss, about 3 or 4 out of the 5 things that I covered that can go really wrong all kind of center back to having enough water. Hopefully this was really interesting, and I've kind of gotten rid of some of the fears of losing too much weight too fast, and that you are still on your New Year's resolutions. Good luck. See you at week 7. And again, I need some feedback on what to talk about. So just leave me a comment on any one of the videos and I'll read it, see if it's something I know anything about. And if not, I'll try to research it. Basically you're getting me to do free research for you, if nothing else. It's just a question of how much you trust my research. But have a saying, trust but verify. And hope to see you next week.